Oh, good Sunday morning. This is a growler, a cold brew from the grocery store down the street. Highly recommended as a way to get your caffeine in the morning. What does they call it? EV plus lemon or something? Who knows? Hey, well, welcome to the show. It's me, M. Doug. We're ready to do this thing. Sorry I couldn't do it last week. I was playing a music festival, and it was like the third and fourth show of like 3 or 4 days. It was insane. But we're back today. We've got big news on some things. We've got some more guru shit we're going to knock out. We've got some classic homework. We've got a great little classic tip and trick. And I got a challenge for y'all for thinking. And then we're going to cover some ethos stuff. So let's get right into it. First off, we just passed 4,000 followers, which is insane. I mean, I'm going to pull this up in the group, but I don't know what the hell happened over the last month, but apparently you guys are just really, really digging it. It has been this ridiculous growth, and I really appreciate it. It's, you do the right thing for long enough and something good will happen. Morrison, don't show your butt to the people. There you go. Thank you. Now look at this. Last 60 days, and then look at that spike. Boom. That's insane. Insane. So anyway, thank you guys so much. And for all of you who don't know about this, what we do here on the weekly lives is I'll help you guys out in the channel all week long. We, take questions and I give you tips and tricks and I show you case studies and we champion the successes. We really try to make everybody a great marketer. And on the weekend, we do this live feed where you can ask any question you want. You can ask me anything. And I'll answer all of it. We'll do it in a public forum. During the week, I'll ask you guys to ask questions to answer during the week. And really, this is what I like to call a mailbag show. It's about me doing the best I can to provide as much help and as much answers to you all. And for those of you that are new, because there's hundreds, I think there's close to 1,000 of you that are new since the last time we really did one of these, which was 2 weeks ago. Usually this is every week. I'm a Facebook disruptor who's defining best practices that eventually be run through case studies, that'll eventually be taught to agencies and then passed on to gurus and eventually sold back to everybody else through coursework and classes in 6 to 9 months or a year. The place where those people get their good ideas is from people like me, and I'm sick and tired of them being predatory on people like you. And a lot of times, group members have some really great ideas that are sometimes crazy or sometimes really great challenges. Sometimes there's people in here that have something figured out that none of us else have, and it's been great to see everything. And then sometimes, I get as much out of this helping you all as it's completely, it's a great relationship. Also, in addition to this channel, we have a Slack where we have private chats back and forth. There's screen sharing, there's private data, there's a whole bunch of great stuff that people are sharing in there. And that's a really great place to have essentially like a mentoring relationship with not just me, but a small community, which is really helpful. We also have one-on-one chats where it's, you can buy by the hour with me and I'll help you out and we can do whatever you want. A lot of times those one-on-ones are built around building a Scrum doc and answering it. Well, I build a Scrum doc based off of your documentation, off your results, and you guys just pester me with all the questions you can during that time. Scrum doc, by the way, it's basically the #1 multi-channel performance tracking methodology that I've come across in the better part of a decade in digital advertising. Outside of that, we also have a bunch of ebooks, and I do owe you guys another ebook. Just sorry, there's been so much rock and roll lately. I'm a little behind on that, but I'm really gonna try to get something out on that soon. And I need honestly, I need a bit more help from you all on that. I've gotten like 3 or 4 big guru tactics that I've been able to punch holes in, but I need some more, and I want to make sure that the ebook is enough. So if you guys anybody has things that they hear, really important folks say, send them to me. And if it's like, Well, everybody says that this works, but I've tried it 10 times and I can't get it to work, and I don't know anybody that it's worked for. Tell me about it. I'll tell you where it came from. I'll tell you why it's supposed to work. I'll tell you why it's being sold, why it's not working for you, and what you should do instead. With that as an example, we'll get into the first one here just shortly. But this isn't just a channel for me to eventually sell you something, because that's bullshit. This is a channel where I try to give away as much things as possible. That being said, we do homework every week. So the homework every week, if you do any of the homeworks from any of the lives you can find in the announcement section of the group, then you get a free ebook or half off the Patreon, or a one-on-one call, or a Slack building session. A Scrum building session. So really trying to help make that worthwhile for you guys. So this week's homework, just like it was last week, because I really want to try to drive this home, is take any of our tips and tricks, and it was great to see people jump on this last time. Take any of our tips and tricks from this group, any of our sexy tips, tricks, and tactics, and repost them into at least 2 groups that sell courses. Hey, I'm getting all sorts of stuff now. Whoa, Facebook just updated. My internet was a little wonky. Hello, Evan. Hello, David. Hello, Renzo and Tino and Evan. Facebook ads for dropshipping. We can cover that too. Ask a specific question. I'll give you a very specific answer. We can go into depth. Hey, everybody. So yeah, if you take any of our tips and tricks and repost them to other groups, I'll give you anything that we have for free, or 50% off the one-on-ones, the Slacks, or the Slack channel, or the Patreon, and really try to make this all worthwhile. The Patreon, by the way, this channel has a Patreon, and if you feel like supporting this channel, you can go in there. All of our ebooks are in the Patreon. Hey, Yulia. All of our ebooks are in the Patreon, and I'm going to start to try to over the next month or so, try to take some of our notes from these lives and go into the Patreon and start to do little wrap-up books as well. And, just everything I can to make that as valuable as possible to everybody. Let me know that Patreon not only has ebooks, but it has other things that people have dropped, case studies and whatnot. So let me know what I can do for you there. Also, the Patreon has it's also in there is a catalog of all the live feeds that we've had here and what they're about. So navigating the group is a bit tough. You can go in there, and then there's like chats about all the live feeds, so there's helpful as well. But yeah, so all that being said, let's get into this week's thing. So the homework: take any of our tips, tricks, or tactics, post them to any group of people who are selling stuff, or that is closed. Like you can go into, what is it, Ad Leaks, or Facebook Ads Mastery, or Scaling for Agencies, or any of those groups that have banned me for life, because I go in there and give away better data than they're selling, and undermine those groups by just linking to Facebook Blueprint and helping people out, which is where I found a lot of you guys. The first core, a couple hundred of you just follow me from group to group to group, and that's why we have this. So anyway, that's the homework, easy peasy. And I'm also going to make a commitment of dropping 2 tips and tricks every day for the next 2 weeks. So it'll be really, really easy. Now remember, you can do this multiple times, right? So say you want half off the Patreon, done. Say you want a free ebook. Well, if you get half off the Patreon, you can get all the ebooks for free because they're on there. But if you want half off the Patreon, do it once. You want half off the Slack, do it again. You want half off a one-on-one call, do it a third time. You could be in the Patreon for half price. You could get all the ebooks you want. You could be in the Slack channel and have a one-on-one call slated, and basically save 50% on all of it by Wednesday. So love it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's get into things. I want to target this week this guru strategy. We've covered it before, but I really want to cover it again because I just continue to see this, and I'm being seen branded by multiple different ways. And it is just wildly dangerous and irresponsible. And I've seen so many people fail with it, and they don't understand why it doesn't work for them. So I don't remember the exact name of it, but somebody posted about it this week in the group. And normally I don't let things go through like this, but I wanted to post it because I wanted people to share and understand what we were going to talk about this week. And I really appreciate it. Tomas posted it, who's a Slack member. And I really wanted to share this. but he's calling it micro-budgeting. It's also called the Big Bang theory, and there's also, there's a lot of different things that this is called. But let me, at a very high level, say what this strategy is. And then we're going to say why people pitch it and why it looks good on paper. Then we're going to cover why it's actually not good for you. And then we're going to cover how you should actually impose the lessons that they're teaching, because even a bad idea will teach you things. So, number one, the Big Bang, micro-budget, all of these things that are being sold for hundreds of dollars. Let me walk you through it real quick for free. So, the theory is, and this has been around for several years, is that you can run ad sets for, like, I'm going to use American currency here, so my apologies to Germany, England, and everybody around the world. The theory is that you can run micro budgets, what they're calling $5 or $10 an ad set, right? So for the purpose of this conversation, let's use a $100 budget, $100 a day. If you have 20 ad sets that are all targeting basically whatever audience with like one ad, and you're spending $5 a day and you have 20 of them, theoretically, and say your product is $50, theoretically, out of those 20, you should be able to maybe get 3 or 4 sales some days. Maybe one day you don't get one, maybe some days you get 3 or 5 or 10. But what happens is each ad set that gets a win looks phenomenal, right? So the way this works is if you're pulling in 10 ad sets and you spend $5 and that ad set gets 2 sales, well, you spend $5 and you made 100. That's amazing. That ad set got a 20x return, one day post click, which most of the time these people aren't measuring on one day post click. And if anybody's measuring not on one day post click, remember that you're being lied to. So it makes it look really good. Now, the reason this is being sold is because it makes people with very small budgets feel confident that they can win. And the honest truth is, it does give you a chance to win more often. It does give you a chance to get more sales right away. I'm not saying that it won't do that, because it will. The likelihood of you winning by making a single sale is stronger, because you're essentially, it's like pulling lottery tickets. You're pulling a $5 lottery ticket, and if you pull 20 of them, the likelihood of you getting a win is pretty strong. And so for that, if you want to get one sale, it's a strong method. It also is being sold because it's something that's very easy to explain. Like, well, if I can spend $100 a day and get 2 or 3 sales, why would I not do that? Like, that's dumb. Why would if I'm selling a $50 product and I know that I can make $100 or $150 a day, why would I not do that? And the honest truth is, if that's your goal, it's a very strong method. There's nothing wrong with it if that's your goal. Now, hopefully you can tell by my tone of voice and the reason that we're covering it that it's a really bad idea. So why is it a bad idea? It's a bad idea for 3 reasons. Number one, and we're going to go back and dissect this, but number one, most people aren't on Facebook advertising to try to make 1 to 3 sales a day. If your goal is to make $50 in profit on a daily basis, that's great. That's 50 times 30, you're going to make like $1,000 profit over the course of a month. That's great. Mazel tov to you. If that's your goal, fantastic. Then you should do it. But most of us, I would venture to say that 99% of the people in this group who are legit marketers aren't satisfied with spending several hours a day running Facebook ads to make $1,000 at the end of the month. So that leads to problem number 2. Problem number 2, hi Cole, is that it doesn't allow for scale. And that's the number one issue that people see. Like, oh, well, this is working. How do I scale Facebook ads? Well, I'm going on $5. Do I go to 10? Do I double my ad sets? Do I go to 20 of them? Do I go more? And it doesn't work out. Why doesn't it work? It doesn't work for two reasons. Number one, spending $5 on an ad set, your Facebook is just scratching the surface. You might reach 100 or 200 people, maybe 300, who knows? But you're going to reach a very, very small segment of individuals with that money. And Facebook is going to try to find the right person with that dollar that you're spending today. Now, how is Facebook defining that right person? It's the person that Facebook thinks that has seen your ad enough times. You know, I've done a lot of used Facebook attribution and done a lot of testing. The average person clicks on a Facebook ad 8 to 10 times before they'll buy, even on like a $20 product. So on any given day, that might be the click that somebody bought from, but you might have had to spend money on them 5 or 10 days before that to make the sale. So now you're $5 a day. That one day that it made a sale, you might have actually had to spend $20 earlier in that week to get somebody to buy on that day. So it's not $5 that made the sale, it's $25 to make the sale. And hey, that means your 20x ROAS is down to like, you know, a 5 or a 4. Still really good. But why doesn't it let you scale is because when you try to spend $10 into that audience, it doesn't actually necessarily reach twice as many people. The more money you spend into an audience, the less people, your CPMs will be affected. And when you're doubling your budget, their CPMs are affected pretty heavily. And now people will say, well, how am I supposed to spend any money on it? Well, let me tell you this. The results that you're seeing at $5 a day are so artificially bizarre. That is not a way, you can't run a business on that. It is abnormal. I mean, it is 100% luck. You are running on lottery tickets. It's like going to Vegas and putting money down on roulette. For those of you that know roulette, there's like 32 numbers on a board and you can pick any one of those numbers and they spin a wheel, and if the number comes up, you get 32 to 1 back. Now, the likelihood of you losing is 31 of those numbers won't hit. And there's a couple of other random things in there. So this is very much that, in that, well, if I spend this thing here, if I buy 20 of those numbers, I'm likely to hit at least one of them. And if I spend, you know, if I spend $1, if I spend $5 in 20 places, I have like a 2/3 chance of making a profit that day. Great. Vegas is built on people having a 60% chance of winning, because you'll lose more often than you'll win, and you'll lose more money than you actually win. So say, oh, well, it's going to hit this and this. Great. So maybe you hit 2 or 3 in a row. You really only profit like $10. And then if you lose any of them, very few people have the self-control to stay in it. And eventually you hit 2 or 3 in a row that are bad and you lost all your money. And so the way that this works inside of the Facebook ads is, say you spend, you know, that day you spend $5, you make 3 sales. Great. So you made $100 profit. You're spending $100 a day, and you made 3 sales. So you made $50 profit. You do it again the next day. Oh, you made $50 profit, $100 profit. You do it the next day, you didn't make a sale, you broke even again. If you do it a 4th day and you don't make a sale, you're now down $100. You are marginally just barely staying above water if you're lucky. And you will lose more often than you will win. So why doesn't this let you scale? The other reason is because you generally, to conduct these audiences properly, are targeting basically the same audience a bunch of times. So what's happening is each one of these ad sets is basically targeting the same person over and over again. So one person might see your ad 15 times that day, but it's from, 15 different places, all in the same campaign, all the same ad from the different ad sets. So it doesn't mean that you're actually reaching 15 times more people. It doesn't mean that when you scale your spend, you're reaching more and more people. What it means is when you're scaling your spend, you're hitting the same people more often. And whether you spend $5 a day or $100 a day, that person's only likely to buy once, which means there's a very real and present ceiling to the success that you're going to reach by raising your budgets. And every single person that I've talked to with this method fails at the same place. They can't scale this business because they're like, oh, if I make 50 bucks a day, if I spend 10 times more, I'll make 500 bucks a day and I can quit my day job. But it doesn't work. So that's why you can't scale it. Now, why is it being taught? It's being taught because it's really easy to show somebody success. It's also really, really easy to show somebody a magnificent number, right? It's really easy to show somebody a 10x return on Facebook or a 20x return. And it might be a legit 20x return. But what do we say here in this group? If somebody's got something over like a 3 to 5x return, and really if it's over 2, you can tell one of 3 things is true. Number 1, they're not using one-day post-click data, which means they're letting Facebook take the credit for other channels' work. Unless you're, like my friends over at Purple Mattress. Hi. And thank you for all your codes. I really appreciate it. My friends and family are enjoying their mattresses. Thank you so much. Or you're like a Movement Watches. Hi, guys. Where, really high-price items. Unless you're one of these folks that is doing an extraordinarily high price point, what y'all folks call a high ticket item, which is a high consideration. Back when I was running Nissan, high consideration. We didn't even try to get people to buy products. My goal then was to sell test drives and let the salesman do his job. Unless you're doing that, measuring on one-day click is the only legitimate way of measuring, because say it's 28-day click or 28-day view, whatever it is. What happens then is Facebook shows an ad. And this, by the way, is how, all of the gurus that talk at every convention show their data. When they have these great numbers, it's, they saw a Facebook ad, and then they went to a website, and then they joined their email journey, and then they made a sale. So Facebook did a great job. No, Facebook is incidental. It's a vanity metric. First touch was Facebook. Who gives a shit? So Facebook got lucky on that person. Because the honest truth is, if you 10x your Facebook spend, it doesn't mean you get 10x more people. If your data that you get doesn't inform a decision that fundamentally improves your business, then it's not valuable data. Anything beyond one-day post-click for 99% of you is not valuable data. So we know that somebody's lying if they're showing you something that isn't one-day post-click. Number 2, how we can tell it's bullshit, or one thing we can tell is if you're showing like a 10x return on Facebook. Number 2 is your scale is really small. Now I can 10x $5 every day. That's easy. I just need to spend $5 in 100 places and only show you the winning. So if I'm selling a product for $100, say I'm selling a $500 product, and I've got $105 ad sets, the likelihood that I'm going to make a sale every day is pretty high, right? Maybe 4 days out of the week, I'm going to make a sale, probably. And then I can show you the results. Hey, look, I spent $5 here, and I made $1,000, right? I made 2 sales off this $5 a day. Follow my methodology. I'm going to sell to you for $500. What they're not showing you is all the other campaigns that failed. They're showing you the winning lottery ticket, right? So if somebody spends $1,000 on $1 lottery tickets, and one of them gives you a $500 return, you lost $500, but you can go to your friends and say, I won $500 on a $1 lottery ticket. So you're being lied to. And that is the crux of so many people. And it's true because when you're at a conference and you ask them for their data, they won't give it to you. They won't mention it. They'll avoid you. These people will not call my name at conferences. These people will not let me buy tickets. I've literally been denied buying a ticket last week to a conference by one of these folks because they knew I was coming for them. And it was hilarious. Hilarious. And they're one of the people pitching this thing. They got their own fucking name for it. I think they're calling it the skim method or whatever the fuck else. And then the other reason that we can tell that their data, one of the things that tells us about their data is those two things might not also not be true, but then their pricing model might not be right. A lot of people, for success, if your pricing model isn't correct, meaning that you're willing to sell, for instance, you might be willing to sell a $100 item for $20. In which case, you sell it for $20 and you have this great ROAS, but your business isn't actually winning. And I see that a lot too. And it's unfortunate because people are just so focused on trying to get sales that they're missing the overall business objectives. And that is, that's a possibility. No, that happens as well. So that's where it comes from. That's the methodology behind it. That's why it's bullshit, and that's why it's being sold. So then you're like, great. So you just told me that I'm fucked. And now I'm going to try to switch over to answering your question from Evan about Facebook ads for drop shipping. Let me tell you how you can do this correctly. And I'm going to say this to everybody all the time. Number one, Facebook probably isn't your best place to do product testing on drop shipping to begin with because it's expensive. But if you have a product that you've got some success with and you've done testing and you want to run Facebook ads and find new buyers, here's how you do it. And this goes back to the methodology that we've tested. And actually, I'm going to derail for 1 second. No, we'll go there. So here's how you do it. And this is something that we've tested a bunch. And, our methodology for this is called Bucket-Based CBO, which, by the way, has won the Facebook test. We spent 6 figures over like 7 or 8 weeks with Facebook dropping in half the budget. And they dropped like 50 grand, right? Phenomenal. Thank you to Facebook for your $50,000. And our methodology beat it. It's called Bucket-Based CBO, and we've covered it in depth. And so I'm going to cover it at a very high level right here. What we're going to do is we're going to take our ad, right? And hopefully we've got 2 or 3 ads that we really like. Our best performing ad. We have the ad ID, the very end of the URL. Hi, Mike. So that we're making sure that all of the comments from every ad, the same ad is being shown everywhere. Because remember, all of the learnings in Facebook happen at the ad level, meaning that each ad carries with it the learnings of all of its conversions and all of its failed impressions, which is why when you run a prospecting ad inside of retargeting, your prospecting immediately gets more efficient because it knows what a likely buyer looks like. So, which is some stuff we've covered before. But anyway, building the bucket-based CBO. Let's say you've got an ad that you really like. Let's say you've got 3 ads, okay? Let's say you've got 3 ads that you really like, maybe an image and a couple videos. Instead of running that ad in 20 places, let's say you're running them all to look like 1% in 20 places. Instead of doing that, we're all competing with each other and targeting the same person with the same ad, drastically increasing your price in a way that's unscalable. You take all those creative and you put them inside of one lookalike audience. And we do that as a lookalike 1%. Now, I would recommend that you try to build out a concept around those 3 creative. And the concept means that, say you've got an image of this sleeping cute boy right there. And that's your ad, right? If you can change the copy or change the layout of it, something so that you're essentially trying to find a slight variation in it. So that one ad that works is now a couple ads, right? Maybe you're taking a video and you're making a still image out of it or something. But basically, you're taking your sales pitch and you're presenting it in a few different ways. That's a concept. So then you take each concept. So if you have 3 ads, hopefully you can build a concept for each ad. And by that, I mean, building 2 or 3 creatives around each one. I would say no more than 6, no less than 2, 3 to 4 is the sweet spot. And Facebook is just done a big case study. They've released talking about how mixed media is the big thing, and I guarantee you're going to see mixed media is the way to go in January or February. You don't need to pay anybody a shit ton of money for that. Trust me. I've already spent $1 million on it, and I'm talking with them about building the casework study, and that is what it is. So save yourself some time and effort. Get started on it now. And if you can't build that creative, go to Fiverr or ask inside the group. I don't normally let people solicit, but if you are a graphics creator or you need something, drop it inside the group. This week, I will let any of those people go. Let's get some people some money. And that's another reason, that's another value of the group that I really want to try to push forward. I don't let people go in there and sell their advertising services, but adjacent services, creative help, whatever. Let's help people out. So yeah, you have the concepts, right? So now you put each concept in a 1% lookalike ad set. Now, primarily what I like to do is not just a 1% lookalike, but what types of 1% lookalikes. We're trying to define a creative testing yardstick, right? So I make a 1% lookalike of all buyers off the pixel. I make a 1% lookalike based on the product, based on the pixel, a value-based lookalike. And then I'll try to make a lookalike of the specific product that we're selling or something inside of that range or in that niche. So some of y'all have general stores, going back to the drop shipping. Some of y'all might have general stores. You're selling all sorts of things. Well, maybe make a custom conversion event based around all of the dog food items, right? And then another one based around all of your glassware, and then another one based around iPhone accessories, okay? So then it's a lookalike of all the buyers of the dog food, the glassware, or the iPhone accessories. So when you're selling a product, you stack those lookalikes. So you target all three of them inside of one ad set. And what that effectively does is say, anybody that's bought from my store, the people who are likely to spend the most money at my store, and the people most likely to buy the type of product that I'm selling based on other people that have bought that type of product in from my store. So now you're going, say we're going on dog food, you've got everybody that's bought from you, people who are most likely to spend money from you, and people most likely to buy from you effectively that have previously bought other dog-related items. That creates three circles, basically, right? Three, targeting audiences that all have a bit of overlap. Facebook will focus on that overlap section first, because you basically said, here's three groups of 2 million people, if you're in the United States. Where do those all intersect? They might intersect with an audience of a couple 100,000 people, and they'll focus on, think of like a Venn diagram of circles overlaying each other. It'll focus on where all those circles meet, where they overlap. And that is going to be where Facebook drives the money. Now, why is that better than a 1%? Because you're not just saying anybody that's bought anything from us, or not just saying anybody that's likely to spend a lot of money. And you're not just saying people that are likely to buy this type of specific product. And it also works for app installs or lead gen or anything else you're doing. I'm just saying conversions here. I'm just saying purchases, but it works for anything you're running your business on. That's because it doesn't necessarily have to be, people likely to buy this product. It could be people that, have signed up for a lead gen for, this real estate effort, or people that have downloaded this app, or people that have, whatever the thing is, okay? Sign up for this service or whatever. Registrations, conversions, the math the logic all basically holds out. Hey, Chris, so you've got those three lookalikes. And then from that, you can exclude successful retargeting campaigns, successful retargeting campaign audiences. So if you are successfully and scaling, say you're retargeting all of your site traffic from the last 7 days, exclude that. Now, maybe you're not. Maybe you're not retargeting them, or maybe you're retargeting, but it's not working for you. Then don't exclude it. Retargeting exclusions should only be things that are working at scale. And I've actually been finding more and more lately that I've been simplifying my retargeting windows, and it's really been helping. And we'll get into that a bit more later. But yeah, so you do that, and then I always like to, if you're selling products, layer on the behavior of engaged shopping. So how are we doing this now? We've got 3 creatives. Instead of running in 20 different ad sets, we're running it inside of one ad set, And we've got 3 creatives that we built on the 3 concepts. It's actually 3 ad sets that are lookalike 1%. Now, say before we were spending $100, in here we can do a CBO where we want to spend a minimum of $20 and a maximum of $40, and we're stamping our overall campaign budget at like $100. That's rough math. But then Facebook is going to determine where it wants to spend that money. And because the creative concepts are different, it's going to be focusing in on slightly different people. So the overlap between those lookalike audiences is less. Because maybe one's a picture of rodeo clowns, one's a thing going after ducks, and one's new moms, then they're all going to Facebook is going to kind of favor a little bit differently. Remember we said we had this 3 lookalike audiences, which were like little circles, right? And there's different overlaps. Facebook, no problem, Evan. Facebook will say, well, here's this creative of the rodeo clown. Well, these cross-section kind of favors more the rodeo clown versus this one's more new moms, and maybe fans of ducks are cheaper people, so they're not as likely to be the value-based lookalike, but there's going to be people that are buying impulse. It's going to target your creative to that overlap in the appropriate place, which means you've got, because you have these 2 million person lookalike audiences, it might only be 4 million people when you overlap all of them because there's a lot of overlap. But if they're all successful, you're going to be able to scale into them really easy. You're going to be able to increase your spend against those audiences because Facebook has determined this is the right creative for this type of audience, and this is the right creative for this type of audience, and this is the right creative for this type of audience. And it's not just one 2 million person audience that's marginally qualified. It's a group of audiences that you could spend $1,000 a day against that audience. Those lookalike 1%. I can tell you right now, I have easily spent $2,000 to $5,000 a day against just that grouping of audiences, selling $20, $50, $100 products, and it doesn't run out. Like, you can do that from now until the end of the year, right? Which means that you're setting your business up for something that we talked about earlier, and why that model doesn't work is because it's infinitely scalable, which means that you're not just trying to make 50 or $100 a day, hopefully on lottery tickets. You're saying, oh, I know that I can make these sales here. I know that this will work for me long term. I know that I can go from $5 a day to $500 a day. You're right, and I've scaled these audiences from $100 a day to $2,000 a day in a matter of a couple weeks or faster, and it holds. Like, if you can get dollar for dollar prospecting and let you retargeting, basically all you're doing is you're letting your prospecting ads pay for themselves, and they're essentially traffic campaigns to drive up volume for your retargeting, which hopefully you're at least getting 2x on. And then you know that your prospecting ads are basically, if you put in $1, you get $1 back. And what it's doing is it's allowing you to get more volume to something where you put in $1, you get $3 back or $2 back. And that's how you scale, is you're driving more and more volume to your retargeting audience where you're making more and more money. Because prospecting shouldn't be the place that you're really relying on your profit margin to come from. Prospecting is a traffic campaign. You don't run it as a traffic campaign, but an effective, every single ad account that I've taken from $100 a day to thousands, or businesses where I'm selling millions of dollars of product a month, with Shopify campaigns that are like $100 grand, $500 grand a day, which I've done, and I've gotten in trouble for posting screenshots of it, so I can't do it anymore. But you guys know, you lifers know about that. How you get to that is very much running this model where I'm going to get as much traffic to my site as possible, but I'm going to let my customers pay for that traffic. So as long as I can get a 1x or a little over a 1x on my prospecting, then I know that I can spend say you get 1.1 on prospecting and you spend $100 that day. That gives you $10 profit. If you spend that $10 on retargeting and you 2x it, then you get like $30 profit, right? So you can get more and more money. I'm not going to get way down that rabbit hole because I feel like I just made it way more confusing than it needs to be. But the point is, bucket-based CBO will be a way of setting up an ecosystem where you've got very centralized spends, all of which you're not trying to get lucky, and you might lose. You might lose because that creative doesn't work at scale. And then you'll say, well, it would have worked if I had done it the other way. And yes, you would have gotten sales, but not in a way that's actually consistently profitable for you. And eventually those lottery tickets run out and you will have shit the bed. And it's not sustainable because it'll be working for the first few days, and then eventually everybody that's likely to buy has bought from you because you're all targeting basically the same small group of people, and you can't build a business on that. So you have to say that success at a very small scale doesn't work at a very large scale. Otherwise, we'd all be out on the street selling lemonade where we buy the product for $5 and we make $20 at the corner of the street for the rest of the day. If your business is like, let me 4x my money on $5 a day, go do that. Facebook ads is a waste of your fucking time. If you want to spend $1,000 a day and make $200 and do that every single day so that by the end of the month you're making 50 grand, then you have to think differently. You have to accept that performance will be different at scale, which is much smaller profit margins at a much higher volume. That's how you make a shit ton of money. Which is why, how I've gone from following that model is how I've gone from trying to make $500 a month campaigns work to running $50 million e-com environments. It's because I can make that happen repeatedly. Now, I haven't taken them from 500 to 50 million, but that's why people that do that want me on board, and that's how you can do it too. And that's what I do for everybody that's asking. But that's your basic thinking. So here now, if you have your bucket-based CBO and you're running, and you say you've got these audiences, and then it's working, you can increase your spend. Remember we said maybe we'll have the minimum be like $30. I think I said 20 and 40. That was wrong. So maybe it's like $30 minimums and $40 maximums. Well, then you want to scale it, make your new minimum $40 and your maximum 60. Generally, I find that when using CBO, which everybody should be using, your ad set budgets should be, your minimum should be 50% less, or sorry, your maximum should be 50% more than your minimum at the ad set budget level. You should be using ad set budgets all the time when you're using lowest cost bidding. And then your overall campaign budget should be roughly 20% more than all of your active ad set minimums. So if you've got 5 ad set minimums at $20, that's $100 minimum. Your campaign budget should be $120. That's letting Facebook determine where to spend the money all throughout those campaigns, and then or those ad sets. And what happens inside a bucket-based CBO is because you've got fewer audiences segmented around a specific type of creative, every one of them can ramp up spend. Now, some of them might be able to say, I can only spend $50 a day, or I can only spend $500 a day. And another one might be able to go, it fails outright, and the third one can spend $2,000. Because it's built around the creative, you're going to be able to understand what creative is scalable. Because every campaign, every ad set, every ad effectively has a max allowable budget before it's no longer profitable for you. And it's not that it won't work if you spend $10,000. You make sales, but it won't be profitable because there's an ultimate end goal of the way the Facebook auction works. There's an algorithm that they made public, but the algorithm for your bid is basically your budget level and your estimated action rate, and essentially, and then your those are the two main things. And then your bid level, that's determining your bid level. And then that is affected also by, your cost of doing business, your CPMs. So the way that takes, my mind went totally blank, but the way that works here is basically saying that if you're on lowest cost bidding, which I highly recommend for most people, although I'm testing something to beat it, but we'll get into that later. If you're on lowest cost bidding, if you spend $5, your overall budget is less than $1,000, so your bid will probably be less. Your estimated action rate is the number one thing there. Now, this is why building your campaigns around, or your ad sets around the creative is most important. Your estimated action rate is basically saying how likely are people to take an action on this item, on this ad, on this post. Now, an action is an engagement, it's a click, it's a conversion. CBO will optimize for the most opportunity for actions. It doesn't necessarily mean most opportunities for profitable conversions for your business model, because Facebook isn't in your business meeting. It doesn't know what success looks like for you, because success for you looks different than the person sitting next to you. You know, however many people are in this room, success looks very different for every person. So CBO algorithm doesn't really map to that because it doesn't know. So that being said, mapping to that creative, if one creative in that you know that triplex of audiences that we're targeting as 1%, if that one has a very high estimated action rate, then the bid is going to be very low, which means that you can spend more money, because remember, the higher the budget, the higher the bid. The higher the estimated action rate, the lower the bid. So every ad, essentially, the more money you spend against it, the more expensive it gets. But the more engaged, the more likely somebody is to take an action, the lower the bid gets. So there's a balance between total budget and quality, basically, of that ad, or the estimated action rate, that tells you how much your conversion will cost. So if your conversion can cost you $80, you can generally get away with either a higher budget or a lower quality ad before your conversions go from $60 a conversion to $100 a conversion. Now, where does this really hit advertisers is there's a sweet spot for pricing. And that's something you have to figure out. But that's where the Bucket-Based CBO solves for this problem that these gurus are basically not winning on. And the reason that they're not teaching Bucket-Based CBO is because my case study for it doesn't come out until next month. Now, mind you, I've spent 7 figures proving this thing out, and Facebook themselves have donated a fuck ton of money into proving this out, and we've beaten out their best practices every single time. The other beauty of Bucket-Based CBO is there's not actually a limit to the total number of creative concepts that you can run. So you can run 3, or you could run like 20. Oh shit, is sound bad? I don't know, Renzo. Hopefully it sounds not bad. Is sound bad? You guys let me know. Renzo, I hope it's just you, man, because we're getting into it here. I can hear things. I don't know. I'm going to keep going, and then hopefully we don't lose everything. Okay, good. All right, great. Sorry, Renzo. Hey, good looking out, man. If sound was fucked and I went on for another half an hour, and I don't want to do it again. So anyway, that's the appropriate way of doing this. So hopefully that helps. I want to get into some of the questions from the live, and then we'll get into some of the questions from the week. Yulia says, still lead gen for real estate. Great, Yulia. I'm glad that this is still a business you're in. I love it. How to pre-qualify sellers even better. Yulia, that is a great issue that you're having, is how do you use Facebook to determine the quality of the people that you're using? And the honest truth is, I've been debating this actually for a while with some other higher ticket items, and it becomes very difficult. But the best solution that I've come across lately is actually a solution that came from a girl over at Purple Mattress. Thank you. Where they're doing I don't want to give too much away, but they're doing a sale for a specific subset of individuals. So without giving away what she's doing, let me extrapolate the strategy as how it can best pertain to you. If you were to use a third-party qualifier So when somebody lands on your ad, then they go to a landing page and they have to provide a little bit of information. And that information was able to qualify them as a valuable lead or not. Maybe it knows their credit score, or it knows their, something along those lines. The net effect is you pay a little bit of a service fee for getting some of those people, and you do lose overall volume. But the people that make it through are very qualified. And so basically the way that I'll put this as an example is, if you've got a club and you're just putting up a sign and everybody coming to the club, you're going to get a lot of ugly people in that club. Now, that might be your goal, but eventually there's only so much space in that club, and you want to make money, and ugly people aren't really making money. I don't know, this is a bad example, but I'm going to go with it. What you need is a bouncer. You need somebody to say only the pretty people get in, or to kick the bad people out. So if your ads went to a landing page where you were using a third-party service to better qualify individuals, the only people that would get through would be those that are really well qualified. So I would go to your partners that you are working with, your clients, and say, hey, look, I want to make sure that I'm getting you higher quality individuals. How do you qualify these people? And let me work with you to qualify them as well as possible. I want to drive my ads to some page of the partnership so that I'm sending people to the thing that you use so that I can get part of your work done for you. And the only people that make it through are the ones that have already qualified. So you're saving them steps and improving the quality of the traffic to their inbox and their cell phone. Then what you're doing is effectively performing business services for them. And you're providing more value than just somebody running a Facebook ad. Because remember, the big thing is we have to know what we're actually being hired to do. Like when I was at Nissan, when they were a client, Nissan wasn't asking me to sell cars. Nissan was asking me to get people interested in the Sentra, the 2015 Nissan Sentra. So my main thing was using lead gen ads to get test drives. Because if I got more people at the dealership to take a test drive, I know that the salesmen are going to sell more cars. I can run a million ads to try to make that car look sexy, but that's not actually getting anybody into a dealership. How to get somebody into a dealership is you ask them to commit to a test drive. Very few people will test drive a car and not be in the market to buy a car. Especially like a fucking sedan. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if Lamborghini was giving test drives, I might sign up, right? Because who doesn't want to fucking drive one day? So that's what I would kind of look at there is qualifying your traffic and using a third-party system to help provide that. Shows value of your value to your partners. And if you can figure out a way of doing some of the work that they need done for them and to have your Facebook ads link up to that automatically, then you are doing a really, really good job. So if your landing page essentially equates to a lead form that goes through something, I mean, if it were me and I don't understand, I know that you're in Europe. Everybody, Yulia is in Europe. Sorry for blowing your spot. She's a beautiful mom from Germany, I believe. Anyway, if it were me in America doing this thing, I would have that go to what we have as Experian or FICO. It's a credit score rating service. I would have that person go to a landing page where they fill out a little bit of information and then we run their credit. The kind of person that's willing to give out their information and run their credit is the kind of person that's really fucking interested in buying a house. Now, that's an extreme version of it. Obviously, that's with 3 minutes thought or 30 seconds thought. But something along those lines that says, yes, I am this person. Yes, I am interested. And yes, I want to continue. It's got a bit of a barrier to entry so that somebody has to be committed to follow through and qualifies them as a buyer. That's what I would do. Hey, Chris. I don't know if I saw you come out. Anyway, there we go. Getting to the questions now. Every week I throw up these questions. Please drop answers below, and I will answer them live. So I'm going to do that right now. Let's see who we got here. Sahil Sinjani. I'm terrible with names, and I will admit that I'm bad at it. So please understand that I am terrible, and I understand it. And I apologize in advance if I completely butcher the shit out of your names. But we got people from all over the world, right? And everybody needs help, so let's help them. Let's save some children. Let's do it. All right. Sahil Sanjani asked actually a really great question. It says, what to use for traffic campaigns? Is Snapchat, Tapjoy, Google, or Facebook reliable for traffic in terms of prospecting? Well, Sahil, I don't know exactly what your business objectives here for traffic, and I would argue against it almost wholeheartedly almost every single time. However, I don't know your business model. I don't know what you're getting paid for, so let's answer your question. With that proviso being said, that I would almost never run a traffic campaign. If I were to run a traffic campaign, however, I think that all of these channels work very well for different reasons. Snapchat is great for traffic campaigns if that's where your target market is, because the CPMs on Snapchat are fucking ridiculously low. I'm talking $1.50, $2 max for 1,000 impressions, and you can get link clicks there for dirt fucking cheap. Tapjoy is phenomenal for dirt fucking cheap traffic as well. That is a value. And there's two different types of ads on Tapjoy. There's an offer wall inside of apps where people can get gems or jewels or diamonds or whatever the fuck, and they buy a product and they get rewarded for it. Now, the conversion rates are garbage, but you get a shit ton of traffic. And what that means is somebody's in an app, they want an upgrade. They go to the offer wall of like, what can I buy for an upgrade? Oh, this looks interesting. They click on it. Maybe they go to your site and they may or may not buy. But that person made a decision to check out your product. They looked at your ad. They clicked on your ad after reading it to go to your landing page and then made the decision not right now. Which means that person is very, very good to retarget. And we've talked about this before, and you can scale the shit out of retargeting that person. There's a bit of a UTM issue. I've had a struggle with somebody who's convinced that UTM, that Tapjoy doesn't bring any traffic in and we shouldn't be using it, but I can point to when I drive up traffic to this page on Tapjoy, I can retarget this page from there, and the volume of that win is magnificent. And it's a one-to-one relationship. So it's hard to track because there's a little bit of a UTM masking issue somewhere in the platform, but Tapjoy is very good for that. Google is very good as well, especially if you are Google is a CPC platform. Any platform that bills on CPC, cost per click, is a great source of traffic because that's what they're billing on. That's what their business is based on. So yes, Google is solid for that. And Facebook is okay for traffic too. I think that they're all good for that. Also in here, Pinterest and Quora, great sources of traffic. If your goal, and I'm going to just kind of go out on a limb and say that maybe this person's goal is to drive traffic to a site and they're trying to get as much traffic as possible, those are all very, very good places. I don't know that any of them is better or worse than the rest. Where you're going to win is by knowing where your target audience is, where your creative what your creative looks like and who it speaks to, and making sure that you're not, trying to target teenage kids on Facebook when you could be hitting them up on Snapchat, or, trying to target, senior citizens on Snapchat when you could have them on Facebook, or, whatever the case is. Every platform has a person that's more likely to use that platform. Bing is better at people over the age of 50 than Google is for search stuff, and it's phenomenally profitable. Whatever it is, right? So I would say understand who your target market is. Find what platforms that target market is on, and start to run ads there and measure them by CPC. Hi, Waleed. and then start to go deeper into it and measure out how those actual platforms are contributing to your overall business objective. I don't know what they are, so I can't get too deep into it. But if I could only spend on one of those platforms, Snapchat, Tapjoy, Google, Facebook, Bing, Pinterest, Sequoia, I would definitely look at who's my target customer, where are they most likely to be, and then focus on that one first. Yeah. So Abdul asks, and this is a big question, so I want to say, I'm glad we're getting to it, and this will probably be the end of it, unless we get more questions inside the chat. But Abdul asks, so what do you recommend, which bid type is effective for what stage of the funnel? Which is a great question. So what he's basically asking is, at its root, is do I bid differently whether somebody's prospecting or retargeting? Do I bid differently if somebody has abandoned cart versus they bought 30 days ago and I'm trying to sell to them again? And the honest truth is, I find that in general, advertisers stick with one type of bidding model. And every one of them has its own advantages, and every one of them has its own struggles. Speaking with Facebook, you basically have 4 bidding models. You've got lowest cost, which is called auto bid, which we've talked about before, which very much will auto bid, or lowest cost, will spend your money as much as you ask it to every day. As long as there's enough people in that audience, it'll spend it and it'll try to do it as efficiently as possible. But your goal there is to spend all of your money. Now, the advantages of this is, one, that you're able to spend everything, which means that you're able to get as much data into the Facebook ecosystem as possible, which means that you don't sell yourself short, and you're able to really understand the impact of every dollar that you spend. Because one day, it's not that, every day you're basically going to be spending $100 or $10,000, whatever it is. Whatever you ask Facebook to spend, it will. And then you're able to measure the efficiency and the effectiveness of everything. It makes projecting your business really easy. And I would argue it also allows you to test creative and to scale campaigns that are new much easier, because you're getting more data faster. And I'm going to address that in a bit. The next type is, I think, lowest cost of the bid cap, but it's basically what used to be called manual bidding, where you're basically saying, I'm willing to spend up to this amount. Give me every conversion up to this amount. Say it's $50. This one is going to get you the best cost, the best CPA, right? Or CPL, or whatever it is you're measuring. You're going to get it for the lowest price. However, where lowest cost is going to get you the most spend and the most data and provide you the most business intelligence and allow you to move the quickest and scale the fastest, bid cap will get you the best price, but it will get you the least amount of spend. And what it's doing is it's going to say, well, historically, we know that this thing can convert for up to X, Y, or Z. And so we're going to only bid that, and we're going to try to find the people that work for that. Now, while that's great, and you can get great profit margins, it means that you might only be able to spend, if you ask it to spend $100, you might only spend $5. And if you have multiple days that are bad, it'll spend less and less and less every day. Which means that your business could come to a grinding halt really fast. And I've seen a lot of success of people doing creative testing inside of lowest cost, and then running the rest of their campaigns on a bid cap or with some sort of manual bid, knowing that, okay, well, this ad, sorry, I was getting a text. This ad learned what a customer looked like, and then automatic bidding on lowest cost bidding, and now we can convert them on lowest on with the bid cap. The next option is what's called target cost. I'm not going to go into it too much. Never use it. It's made for ad agencies. It's obsolete. The last one is a new piece, which is called cost cap bidding. And this is the thing I love the most. Cost cap basically says, I want to get an average of this. It's basically auto bidding with a goal. You're not saying I'm willing to spend up to $50. You're saying I'd like to, at the end of the week, because it runs on around 7-day averages, I would like for my CPA to come in at or below $50, which means that if there's an $80 conversion out there, it's going to take it because it knows that there's also $20 conversions out there, so you're going to net it out around 50. What I find is, much like the story of Goldilocks, it's the one that's just right. I'm actually doing the way that I'm beating Bucket-Based CBO is built around a cost cap bidding model for creative testing and scaling, but we're not there yet enough for me to, I'm only about 10 or 20,000 into testing that, so not enough to get you really good data on it. But cost cap bidding, I find, is phenomenal when I know what my goal, what success looks like. And what I've really been moving more and more into, and I'm kind of speaking ahead of the data that I have, but that's part of what this group is about, right? It's not me running a case study and then 6 months from now telling you what it was. What I'm currently really doing is effectively running auto bid for creative testing with the Bucket-Based CBO stuff, and then using my mature camp ads and putting a bid cap on them, or a cost cap on them, basically saying, okay, we know what the best ads are, we know what the worst ads are. I want to run my best ads saying that I want to average, $50, right? And then inside of retargeting, I will generally bid also with a cost cap, with the exception of my mid funnel's got a cost cap. My bottom funnel generally doesn't. And the reason why is, especially if you've got multiple products, your bottom funnel is going to have a lot of different things at a lot of different prices. And you're more concerned about just getting that conversion because you know it's going to happen at a profit margin you're okay with. So you want volume of conversions. So basically, the way you can treat this is, if you want volume, go for lowest cost. If you want absolute control where you'll never pay over that price and you don't care whether you spend $5 or $1,000, then you go with bid cap. If you have a good idea of what your goal is, but you don't want to sacrifice overall volume and you've got multiple irons in the fire and you know that, okay, if I've got 4 or 5 things going, if one does well and one does poorly, I'm going to still net out average, go with cost cap. And so hopefully that helps. It's a very intricate way of answering the question, but yeah, that's how I use it. So anyway, I think we're about done here. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. We've done another hour of dismantling guru bullshit and giving great advice. I really appreciate it. So if you find value here, please invite another person. And if you do your homework, just direct message me with it and we'll get you hooked up. I'm working on some more stuff and more big news and good things coming. So love you guys. See you later. Bye.